make this talk a memorable experience for everyone, I need 4 volunteers from the audience who would describe themselves as enthusiastic people. 1, please. 2, please. 3, yes. 4, come over. Please give our volunteers a round of applause. Join me on stage. So I need your help. Where's our 4th one? There we go, thank you. I need your help to lead a conversation and a journey through space and time where we're going to take all of our audience through the journey of human history to this moment to understand what makes Nostos 2023 possible today. We have 4 revolutions that fundamentally impacted who we are as humans and made the mental health movement what it is today. So each of you will be one of my revolution leaders, and you're going to be leading an audience section which will cheer humanity through history. Are you willing to help me with this?
Yes.
Audience, are you willing to help our revolutionary leaders? Thank you. Number 1, this is your section. This section represents the scientific revolution. Audience, can you cheer scientific revolution? Say it with me, scientific revolution.
Scientific revolution.
Now you try. Say scientific revolution.
Scientific revolution.
Fantastic. Number 2, you're going to represent the industrial revolution, and this is your section.
Okay.
Audience, industrial revolution.
Industrial revolution.
Amazing. You try.
Come on. Industrial revolution. Industrial revolution.
Fantastic. Volunteer number 3, you're going to represent the digital revolution. Try it with me. Digital revolution.
Digital revolution.
Fantastic, wonderful job. And you will represent the intelligence revolution, the one we're embarking in right now. Audience, intelligence revolution. Thank you, thank you. So, what we're going to do now, all 4 of you are going to work together. Now you have your verbal cheers. We need the nonverbal cheers. So I want you each to come up with a simple hand gesture, something like this, whatever it is, for each of your audience sections to do as they cheer. So I'll ask you for 1 minute to come up with your simple hand gesture, and then we'll come back and go on the journey together. Is that okay?
Good.
Fantastic. Round of applause for our volunteers as they go together and think of their hand gestures. So you guys can go over here, and then we'll come back together. Okay. So while our revolution leaders are working on their cheers, I just really want to appreciate the incredible moment that we're all experiencing right now. So this moment in time, actually I'll hold. Why don't you spend 1 minute, teach your audience sections your cheers, and then I'll start the intro. Go ahead.
Okay.
Finished? Finished? All good? Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll need you in just a moment. When I point to each of you, you'll do your audience cheer, yeah? Thank you, thank you. So I just want to take a moment and appreciate what we're all doing right now, this particular moment in time that we're sharing. There are 7,000 people coming from 50 different countries to Athens, Greece to talk about the future of mental health and well-being for all of humanity. How incredible is that? Seriously. Amazing. As a psychologist, this is one of the most extraordinary times to be doing work like this. But there's a danger to an event like this, which is why I think the SNF team invited me here. And the danger is this. Are we going to let this be just another normal conference where we trade our business cards, we engage in some transactional conversations, we sit in some talks, and then we go home? Or are we really going to seize the moment of this opportunity and cultivate deep and lifelong connections with members of a community who have the capability of catalyzing a global movement? That's what's at stake here. But if we really want to call ourselves a community, there are 2 key things that need to be in place within the next 48 hours. So we've got some work to do, but I think we can get there together. Number 1, at least according to psychology and sociology, great communities have a shared history. Now you might be thinking, well, that's kind of impossible. We're coming from all over the world. We have different experiences, different lives. But it turns out that it's exactly our shared history that's what brings us here today. We just need a little reminder. So we're going to go on a journey together to reconnect with what makes Nostos 2023 possible and what brings us all together here today. Element number 2, great communities require collective action around a unified mission. Now, it seems pretty obvious we're all here for the mental health movement in some way. But just take a moment, turn to the person next to you and say hello. Introduce yourself, shake their hand. The person that you're talking to right now has the vision, the inspiration, the team, the resources, the network to have a significant positive impact on the lives of others. And so do you. Imagine with me for a moment what you could create with this person. Imagine what would happen if your entire audience section decided that they were going to support one another on both a personal and a professional level. What could we do as a united community around the shared mission of well-being for all humanity? The possibilities are unlimited. And so what we're going to do is come back here tomorrow as a community and start building this from the ground up, building these deep and personal connections that will last a lifetime. Are you with me? Yeah. Let's do it. Time for our time travel adventure. Are we ready, revolution leaders? Yes. All right, let's make this happen. Okay. The first point in our journey is one of the most fascinating times in human history that we now know as the scientific revolution. Cheer time. Beautiful. It's 1543, and Nicholas Copernicus points his telescope up to the heavens to make what might be one of the most controversial discoveries in history. The Earth is no longer the center of the universe. In fact, it's kind of the other way around. We're now just a small, interconnected part of a much larger galaxy that's all governed by the same laws and principles. It's open season now for scientists around the world to begin decoding these laws and principles for the first time. There's a scientific collaboration across cultures, the likes of which humanity had never seen before. And the scientific revolution starts to change the way we think about the world around us. We start to value logic and reasoning and testing our assumptions. Our beliefs turn into hypotheses that can be validated and falsified or replicated. And then, in a grand culmination of physics and astronomy and optics, Isaac Newton presents his universal laws of gravitational motion, which bring together the heavens and the earth as one. It was so inspiring at the time that this catalyzes a mindset change for many societies around the world, and it had a name. It was called the clockwork universe. And the clockwork universe is the idea that the entire universe and all of the particles in it, including ourselves, were a part of a giant machine, like a clock, that was designed to perfection, wound up at the beginning of time, and would continue ticking on forever. This starts shaping our psychology in fundamental ways. You see, we didn't have the tools at the time to understand psychology and human behavior, so emotions start to become the enemy of logic and reasoning. And anything subjective is met with skepticism. It's almost as if during this time, in the enthusiasm to understand the world outside of us, we start to disconnect a little bit with what makes us human on the inside. But then this clockwork universe concept, and all of the incredible science that underscores it, inspires a new love for machines and automation that catalyzes our second revolution, the Industrial Revolution. New machines are now being created that can multiply the impact of a human hand by thousands of times. Humanity is about to bear witness to the single greatest economic event in history, next to the domestication of plants and animals, which, by the way, happened 10,000 years prior to this moment. The modern corporation is invented to house hundreds and thousands of workers, each of whom are one small component in a larger industrial machine designed for productivity and efficiency. Now, how do we train all of these workers with enough speed to keep up with the extraordinary demand for economic growth? The Industrial Revolution gives birth to our modern education system. It's a new state-mandated learning program that teaches the basics like math and reading, as well as some of the gems from the scientific revolution, to students in the hopes that they get out of the fields and into gainful employment in modern factories. But the work in these factories was very hard, and it was often extremely dangerous. My great-grandfather was a coal miner during the industrial era. He worked sometimes 6 to 7 days a week, anywhere between 9 and 16-hour days, and he died of black lung disease when he wasn't much older than I am today. So you see, the Industrial Revolution, despite its staggering economic gains for humanity, also brings with it this desperate need for improved safety and human dignity and connection between one another. But true to human form, we start to invent solutions that deliver to these problems. Logic from the scientific revolution merges with machines from the Industrial Revolution, powered by electricity, to give rise to our third revolution, the digital revolution. You guys are fantastic. New digital devices are now being invented that remove the need for dangerous human labor. Entire operations, complex processes can be managed at the push of a button. My grandfather, who's the son of the coal miner, started his career working as a switchman on the railroad. He would physically be on the railroad tracks, switching the train tracks so that the trains could find their way. When he started his work, he was literally there next to moving trains, making his career choice one of the highest rates of catastrophic injury at the time. Luckily for me, during the beginning of the digital era, my grandfather moves off the railroad tracks and into an office where he can manage much of the operation from the touch of a keyboard. And he can pick up a telephone receiver and communicate seamlessly with the rest of his team. Some decades later, that telephone receiver merges seamlessly with a personal computer, evolves into a supercomputer that shrinks down to fit comfortably inside of our back pockets. And now today, there are 7.3 billion smartphone users in the world, representing the interconnectivity of 91% of the human population. It's amazing. But at the end of this era, we start to feel this paradoxical sense of disconnection inside of our hearts. How many of you have felt that? Despite the hyperconnectivity of all human beings on Earth, there's this sense of disconnection with one another. We learn at the end of this era that deep human connections might be the one thing that can't be automated, no matter how many likes or followers you might have. There's a desire for something deeper, a longing to return to what it means to be human. Which brings us to the current moment in our timeline. We're now at the dawn of a new era which seeks to both understand and replicate the human mind itself. Welcome to the intelligence revolution. I love the heart. That's fantastic. AI is about to fundamentally transform everything we know about human creativity and productivity and the future of work. But I'm interested in a particular element of this revolution that's already transforming millions of lives around the world. You see, revolutions can sometimes come in pairs when the right sociological and technological conditions align. Almost paradoxically, our fascination with artificial intelligence is catalyzing unprecedented conversations in what it means to be human, and consciousness and emotions. In this new era, the desire to build this new artificial intelligence infrastructure is inspiring unprecedented movements around what it means to be well and what it means to be human. In a fascinating way, almost seemingly paradoxically, in the artificial intelligence movement, we're now seeing these major patterns shifting towards the understanding of the psychological sciences. And because of those sciences, we now have the shared vocabulary to take these fascinating conversations to a global stage like this one. So in the end, the pandemic did catalyze a lot of these interesting discussions. That's for sure. But that's not where this movement got started. This movement that we're now seeing is 500 years in the making. It's the unique and unprecedented combination of ancient wisdom traditions with modern psychology and medicine, and yes, even conversations about AI. You see, we're not in the middle of a mental health epidemic. We're at the beginning of a mental health revolution, and that's what makes Nostos 2023 possible and what brings us all together here today. Everyone, round of applause for your revolution leaders and for your sections for cheering humanity through 500 years of history. You can move back to your seats if you'd like, or you can stand here and join me. That's fine too. Thank you. But our journey isn't over yet. We've just gone through the perception of well-being through one lineage, one tradition, through the lens of science. But there are so many other wisdom traditions around the world that have been speaking to this question of what it means to be well since time immemorial. I want to invite everybody to close your eyes with me. We're going on one more adventure together with the time that we have left today. I'd like you to imagine a place that's far away from here, high up on a mountaintop, with endless valleys of fresh green trees, where the air is clean and crisp and cool. There's not a sound to be heard, save some birds in the mid-afternoon. Now I'll invite you to open your eyes and join me in this place. We're now standing in the high Himalayas of eastern Bhutan, in a place that traditionally outsiders are forbidden to go to. Yet in 2014, I found myself in this place, about to make first contact with one of the 3 last uncontacted tribes left on Earth. This was a group of people who had likely migrated from Nepal some centuries ago. They had no knowledge of the scientific revolution and all the empiricism and logic that came with it. They weren't impacted at all by the Industrial Revolution. There were no machines, there were no factories. They weren't impacted by the digital revolution. There was no printed media, no phones, no computers, and no electricity. But this group had been living in peace for centuries. They worked hard, they supported one another on both a personal and communal level. And this was the culmination of a 7-year research project to understand the universality of human emotions across cultures, and also to understand what it means to be fundamentally well from the perspective of ancient wisdom traditions around the world. And as we spoke with this group of people, they told us about one particular emotion that they valued above and beyond all else. They said it's the one that we cultivate personally and the one that we teach to our children as quickly as possible. And we asked them what it was, and they said the word in our language is chokshe. Directly translated means the knowledge of enough, knowing what is enough. And they said that the feeling of chokshe is when right here and right now, everything is perfect as it is without the need for modifying your environment around you. It's a feeling of unconditional acceptance and wholeness in the present moment, when we feel complete as we are. It sent shivers down my spine. And then I felt a little bit depressed because I realized I hadn't felt much chokshe in my life until that moment. But this inspired my team so much that we started a whole new line of research on contentment, which is the direct translation to English. And this was while I was a faculty member at Yale University. We were studying this fascinating state across cultures, and we were looking at over 24 ancient wisdom traditions to find mentions of this word. We were stunned to find it in the ancient Vedas, written 4,000 years ago. It was there in the ancient Greek Bible. It was in the Torah. It was in the Quran. It was in the Tao Te Ching. It was in many of the ancient African oral traditions, and over a dozen other cultures that we studied. all of these cultures and communities were speaking of a state of nervous system balance and relaxation that almost seemed like a gold standard for clinical psychology work. And when the dust settled on this research project, we had finally found the connection point between these ancient philosophies and modern science. And I want to just show you what it looks like. Oh, thank you. It looks like this. Well-being is an adaptive and stable nervous system that's easy to regulate. It doesn't sound as magical as Chugche, I'll give you that. But it works. Let me break it down. Adaptive means experiencing our emotions in a way that's helpful and informative to navigating our fundamental life situations. Anybody here ever said something that they later regretted that made their life a little bit tougher? I'm in that club too, don't worry. So these are the moments that we could use a little bit more adaptivity. We can use our emotions as guides to better navigate, create healthier relationships with others, and make better decisions. Stable means that as we're pushed and pulled between the extremes of pleasure and pain on a daily basis, when we're on that roller coaster of emotions, there's a tendency to return to a set point of nervous system balance and relaxation. Lastly, easy to regulate, and I believe this is the most important one, at least for me on a personal level and definitely on a change-making level. This is having the knowledge, the skills, the practices, the techniques required to maintain a stable and adaptive nervous system. These are practices like mindfulness, compassion, empathy, trust, forgiveness, gratitude, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, self-curiosity. All of the things that I wished I had learned in school, but never had the opportunity to practice until I had a PhD in psychology. Which is why we started the Contentment Foundation. We're bringing all of these great practices, the best of the psychological sciences as they overlap with thousands of years of ancient wisdom, as a Tier 1 mental health support system for schools, for teachers, for students, and family members around the world. And through our Cities of Well-Being initiative, we're bringing this program at scale. But we can't do this alone. We don't want to do it alone. This is a big job. And this is the moment that we're all here for right now. This is the opportunity we have in this catalytic event in human history, where we can come together to provide the tools, the skills, the resources and practices to the next generation of our children so that they can live safer, healthier, and more well lives than the ones we're living today, where they can make better decisions than the ones that we're making today because they have the tools to think clearly and to create loving relationships with one another. So the invitation is this. It's time to unite. It's time to pool our resources together and spark the next step of this movement in the mental health revolution. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll come back here tomorrow at the same time. Please return and bring a friend, because we're going to be building these communities right here on stage with me. I hope you'll join. Enjoy your day.